Kyle. How are you?
Hi, Dimitri. How have you been?
I'm great. You finally to join us.
Yeah. Finally was a good time for me. Yeah. Nice to see you.
Guys, Kyle is another member of New York Pipe Club.
Yeah, now I'm in San Diego.
Oh.
Hi, Dimitri. How have you been?
I'm great. I'm good. To join us.
Yeah. Finally was a good time for me. Yeah. Nice to see you.
Yeah.
Well, give me a second, fellas. So just so I can throw us up there on YouTube for a second and say, hello, everybody. Good afternoon. Welcome to a Saturday session of the Virtual Pipe Club on YouTube. As you can see, these casual gentlemen are already joining us, and you can join in anytime you like as well. And if you want to be in the group here and meet our special guests and participate in the conversation, you can just run over to the Facebook pipe groups, because on just about all of them we've posted the link, and you're more than welcome to join anytime. You can also watch us there, just sort of lurk out there on YouTube and post questions. I see Eleazar is already over there. He says, "Happy Saturday, boys." So you're more than welcome to do that. I'll try to keep my eye on the YouTube questions that come in and make sure that they get tossed into the conversation. Today, we're so excited. In just a few minutes, our special guest is going to be here. Jon David Cole, the owner of the country Squire Tobacconist in Jackson, Mississippi. And I'm Mr. Nobody. I'm David Dorian Ross. I'm the just somewhat try to keep everything moving along kind of moderator, but you guys have to be more forceful in telling me to shut up, because I know I talk too much already. So we try to let everybody else.
Hey David, shut up.
Okay, thank you, Ed. Appreciate it. See, that's all I need. All right, so that was my spiel for YouTube. That was all I did that for. Now,
maybe we should tell YouTube that you're the founding father of the Virtual Pipe Club. I did that in your voice.
Yeah, at my age, I'm the founding grandfather.
Would that make David my daddy then?
No. That just sounds wrong on many levels.
This was a discussion for the Saturday night group, not the afternoon one.
So how are you guys doing today? Who's smoking something special there? Ed, what
I'm
have you
smoking
got?
your.
Ed,
this is
Texas
the Texas tea. So this is what Jon David brewed up for the pipe smoking competition down in Texas.
Nice. So I'm assuming that meant you were there. You picked up a jar there? Or?
Unfortunately, I wasn't there, but we bought a jar afterward. I bought a bunch afterwards, and it's pretty good.
I'm trying to get this on a speaker view here.
I'm smoking this, David. You remember that stuff?
Bullseye flake.
I'm giving it my first. It's a bullseye flake. I'm giving it its first try. It's maiden voyage, so we'll see how it goes.
Awesome.
I have some Orlick Old Dark Kentucky, Dark Strong Kentucky, but it's dated back 2006.
Ooh,
really tasty.
That should get some extra kick in it there with that age on that.
Yeah, I think it's quite nice.
Zach, nice haircut there, brother.
Me, thank you.
Yeah.
I learned to do it myself.
Right? I did the same. I got my first couple of go rounds did not look as good as yours though.
No, this is about the sixth time. I needed some practice, but I'm getting better.
Zach, is that 7L pipe?
Yeah, Roma 320 KS, loose site.
Yeah, because I see it looks like 320. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that stem.
Yeah, beautiful pipe, and I love the shape. I'm also smoking 7L today. That's 7L Hercules,
Yeah.
Straight Bulldog, which I bought back in 1990s at Arnold's Tobacco Shop on Madison Avenue. That shop doesn't exist anymore. And I'm smoking this stuff. McClellan
wow.
Frogmorton 2017.
Wow.
Eleazar's over here on YouTube is also smoking in a 7 Ellie, in a Mr. G, and he's smoking some San Bruno, which is, I love San Bruno. So I hope that you're having a good time with that over there. Tim Hummer, what are you, you look very contented, sir. You just have that aura of Southern gentleman contentment there.
I just got my Conway out, and I've got a little Colt Blood Red Moon in it.
Oh, I've got like 3 tins of Colt that I bought when they came back on, and then I haven't smoked it for the longest time. I've got to get back into that.
Dig it out every once in a while. It's a good thing to stick in between the stiffer blends.
Mr. David, how are you, sir?
Good, thanks. And you guys?
Phil,
Oh.
that photo that you sent over the valleys of Scotland there, oh, made me homesick.
It's nice. Fair
Yeah.
play. So, I know you guys, I know this is last week's news, and you guys told me that Sun Bear was good, but you didn't tell me it was this good. Just the sweetest smoke ever, honestly. I'm smoking it in a tiny, I think it's Czechoslovakian. It's just an estate pipe I paid like $10 for, because I want just in small measures, you know. It's fabulous.
Nice. How much were you able to obtain?
2 tins.
2
But I
tins.
can't say where from.
Well, no. In fact, that was just a fiction we made up right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Whoever
don't
posted,
run out there.
I was gonna say whoever posted that it was restocked over at not Smoking Pipes at the other place. I managed to pick up 2 tins.
Pipes and cigars.
Pipes and cigars.
Right.
Thank you.
Yeah, David posted it. See,
David.
that's what I suspected. You know, when we that first week when it all got out of stock, I'm like, you know, a company like Lodisi wouldn't ship everything that they had all at once. So I just say that because, you know, deep in my psyche, my mother taught me how to say, "I told you so." It's like, I have to say that every once in a while.
Thanks to some awesome people in this club, I managed to get a total of 4 tins.
Oh, John, that's awesome.
You have more than me, buddy. Can I have 2?
$20 a piece.
Well, I think there's some negotiation that will be taking place there soon. Cool. Alistair,
Today,
how are you, sir?
Doing fine today. I'm smoking Presbyterian mixture
Good choice.
in my Savinelli Octavia.
Ooh, lovely.
Yeah.
Alistair, I keep going back to the Presbyterian mixture of all the tobaccos that I've tried in the last 3 or 4 months. I keep going back to it. It's just different.
That's one of my regulars as well.
So let me quickly ask, because I don't know it, what kind of tobacco is it?
Presbyterian mixture.
No, I know the name, but like, what's it made of and how does it taste?
It's like a really light Balkan blend, I would say.
It's Latakia forward, maybe. Orientals, just a lovely mixture of stuff. It's just a nice blend.
I'll give it a shot, guys. Sounds good.
I think there's always been some debate about Presbyterian, whether Latakia is in it or not.
Yeah, I would contend that there's a small amount. It's not.
There is definitely Latakia in Presbyterian. It is light English blend. It does have Latakia, not too much.
Yeah, Zach, I agree with you. I think it's in there somewhere. maybe
Yeah,
to
just-
a small extent.
Yeah.
Well, thing is, without Latakia, it probably would smoke much hotter. Latakia there is not so much for adding flavor as for cooling it down and balancing it.
Well, I am smoking in honor of our special guest today, Old Toby, and to, properly smoke a tobacco called Old Toby, I have my clay church warden, so I can just sit back and let the hair grow on my toes and get into that. Peter, what's up with that gigantic pipe there, dude? Elementary, my dear Watson.
I'm too damn slow with that mouse getting that thing. It's a calabash. I saw some last week, I think, and it was like, oh, people. So I get this baby out, pull a little toilet paper down the bottom of the gourd before somebody had mentioned that last time, I think, capture the moisture. And I'm smoking this. I don't know if anybody has ever heard of this. Small bear,
What's that?
Sun bear or something. No, it's excellent, and this is a nice, cool, dry way to get the delicate flavor. So, doing great. Thanks.
Hey guys, sorry I'm late.
Hey, David Boshoff, how are you guys doing out there?
Well, it sounds like they'll probably extend the lockdown again. Still no tobacco, no alcohol. And people are losing jobs. It's very bad, yeah.
Oh, we're sorry to hear about that on all fronts. All fronts. On the good side, you guys will be the healthiest population in the world because all of your bad habits.
Most unhappiest.
Yes. Not the happy. You'll be the most depressed nation. Russians will seem exuberant next to South Africa.
Yes, yeah. Definitely.
Yes. Well, we hope for speedy recovery out there.
Thanks.
What else? Who? I'm holding back from introducing our special guest here, who's here, because I want to give him a proper ta-da in just a moment. So before we do that, Kyle, I didn't get a chance to say welcome. I know that Dimitri gave you a bit of an intro, but man, it's nice to see you. And you and Alistair are very definitely visiting the same tailor. And
Yeah.
Last week I told him, Magnum PI called and wants a shirt back. So
right. Yeah. So aloha from San Diego. I come to San Diego by way of New York. I know Dimitri. I was in the New York Pipe Club. And on my swing from New York to San Diego, I actually stopped in at the Country Squire, made my pilgrimage. So hello again, Jon David.
Hey, it's good to see you again.
And in honor of this particular meeting, I am smoking some Country Squire Kingsfoil.
That's great.
That I picked up at the shop out of my Dunhill with some bamboo. So hello, everyone.
Well, it's really nice to meet you and nice to have you here. Great day to show up first time, and of course, hope that you'll come back and help us keep a rein on Dimitri.
Is that possible?
No, we go back and forth between, do we want to keep a rein on, because he, sometimes just letting him go. I learn more in the space of a half an hour than I could possibly learn by spending, a week in a tobacco shop. I just want to hang out with Dimitri and learn stuff. So maybe we should just let him have his head, as they say.
Dimitri's knowledge of tobacco is second to none.
The guy today's got pretty good knowledge.
Yeah, David, definitely. So, we're lucky, guys, to have these two guys in our group here share stuff with us. Really appreciate that. Rob, how are you doing, sir?
I am doing fine. I am setting up my pipe right now. We just got to our cottage a little bit ago. And in honor of Jon David, I am, get that in there right, the Country Squire 50th.
Yeah, thank you. That's awesome. I'm very honored.
I'm honored to see your face. Get to see it weekly, but see it live again, that's a blessing.
Well, awesome. Well, I think we'll have time to do some more sharing and whatnot as we go forward, because Bud's here, which means we can start now. Thanks.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. So appreciate that. It is my great pleasure. No mystery to everybody who's our guest this week, but I just want to give him a formal welcome to the Virtual Pipe Club. I've had a chance to speak with him on the phone a few times, and like many of you, I'm a big fan from listening to the podcast and watching some of his videos and whatnot. Jon David Cole is the owner of the Country Squire in Jackson, Mississippi, one of, if not the oldest continuously operating tobacconists in the South. In the face of just what just happened with Nat Sherman's, as brick and mortars begin to close down, we have to protect the home fronts there, Jon David.
Definitely.
We'll come and help you man the fences.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
But Jon David has come with a wonderful reputation. Like everybody who's been a guest on here just loves you, and I know we will too. Jon David agreed to come and talk about a couple of things we haven't really heard before from guests. For example, from the perspective of being a brick and mortar owner, and kind of like, what does that take to run a business like that? A business that is in a genre that is under attack. And by that, I don't mean a literal attack, but it is under scrutiny of the government and health groups, et cetera. It is, maybe 3 or 4 other people besides the guys who are here in this group who actually buy stuff like, and so he's not in it for the money. He's going to talk about that a little bit, tell some story about that, and then open it up to all of you for any questions that you might have. So without further ado, Jon David, welcome, my friend.
Man, I'm just so honored to be here. Thank you very much. This is a real treat, and it's not a minor feat to have me here, to be honest with you, because a lot of folks don't realize I'm very timid, and so it's hard for me to occasionally get in front of a group and do this kind of thing. But man, I'm glad to be here, and really honored. So and if you're having trouble hearing me, there's a big ceiling fan here trying to keep our mosquitoes off of me, and I think it's about 96 degrees here today with about 300% humidity. So I'm just suffering through it. But anyway, yeah, we're have a little shop in Jackson, Mississippi called the Country Squire. You'd mentioned that we are one of the older shops in the Southeast. It's funny, other parts of the country and of the world, you've got these storied L.J. Peretti's and Ewan Reese stories that where the shops have been there over 100 years, and that's not something that really developed in the Southeast until maybe 50, 60 years ago. And so so we are one of the older brick and mortars in our part of the country, and just celebrated our 50th anniversary this past week. And so man, Rob, that's cool, smoking our anniversary tobacco there that we were able to collaborate with Sutliff on making. It's a Virginia Perique crumble cake, which we're really, really proud of. But yeah, so man, just honored to be here. A little background about myself. I didn't grow up thinking I was going to be a retailer, much less a tobacconist. And my straight-laced, teetotaler parents were maybe a little terrified when I picked up the pipe, and probably a little more so when I started selling tobacco products. But yeah, here we are. I was had gone through several different career kind of things. After college, I had done some paralegal work and marketing, and I had done some real estate development related stuff, and was just very varied in my professional endeavors, and decided to go back to school to be a counselor. Actually, I went back to seminary to be a marriage and family therapist, oddly enough. And so it's funny, when I was doing that, I worked part-time at the Country Squire, and it was nice, kind of as a dovetail, because if you're sitting down talking with someone over a pipe, as you guys know, they'll if you're smoking a pipe with someone, they'll kind of tell you whatever you want to know. We just have a way of lowering our guard, and there's an intimacy that develops when people smoke a pipe, and it probably my favorite thing that I see every day in a pipe shop is that you can have a 17-year-old hipster, well now a 21-year-old hipster, because we've got different laws now, but 21-year-old hipster smoking a pipe next to a 68-year-old retired accountant, and they have nothing in common but the fact that they both love English blends or something. And so the conversation always has this very natural place to go back to, if there's always a pause. And so it's really precious. It's neat to be a part of that. But I just got in the industry because was working in this environment part-time, and the owner of the shop that I worked at her name was Gwen, and she was 89 years old. And about a year after she hired me, she died. And the family asked me to step in and run the business for them. And so I did that for a few years. And then eventually I bought the business from the family, just to kind of carry it on. So, but yeah, just one of those guys. It's, people are like, man, you got this awesome job. You just sit around and, tell fishing stories and smoke your pipe all day long with a, bunch of other knuckleheads. And that's true. I mean, there's nothing wrong. There's nothing inaccurate about that. But, it's interesting running a retail shop in today's world. So yeah, we had talked, David Dorian, about kind of discussing, the retail aspect of it. Obviously, we have a podcast. We do Country Squire Radio, which is right there along with. There's other awesome podcasts that are probably so much more high quality than we are. But as you know, guys like Mike and Brian and others that do awesome productions. But so we're one of those, and are proud to do that, happy to do that. But primarily we're a brick and mortar tobacco shop in a modern culture that where we've got a variety of hurdles against the premium tobacco industry, where we've kind of been lumped in with other things that it's hard today with Twitter and everything else to have any kind of nuanced conversation. We have to paint in very broad brushstrokes when we start talking about any kind of nuances due to regulation or any opinion really at all anymore. So it's hard under today's environment to kind of separate different types of tobacco products. It's easier for everyone just to kind of dump us all in one little cauldron and then kind of push us over the edge of the boat. But anyway, yeah, it's we had talked about this. There are a lot of folks that over the years have come to me and said, hey, what if why don't I don't have a pipe shop in my area? What if I opened a pipe shop in my area? Is that something that I could do? And just to give a little background on that, we as pipe enthusiasts, we're in the pipe world so regularly and so consistently that we kind of have a idea about the largeness of our world that might be a little inaccurate. We think the pipe community is huge, and obviously it is, compared to a local group or something. But compared to the larger premium tobacco community, it's still kind of a cottage group, and so it's difficult, to think that if you lived in a certain area that had maybe a limited population, the city our size, the Jackson, Mississippi, where we are, is only 180,000 people, so we're not talking a big, metropolis here. We don't even want to be Houston, Texas when we grow up. We want to be Birmingham, Alabama when we grow up, you know. So it's just kind of a small environment. But you know, it's hard in this kind of environment because the pipe smokers are, you know, not as just not as prolific as cigar smokers to make it work. And really, the only reason our shop has been able to do it, I think, over a long period of time, is because we have those legacy customers that continue to come from other parts of the world that we've developed over, I mean, literally decades. You know, I've got, you know, regular customers that live in parts of Canada and New England and, you know, places like Montana that we've shipped to since, you know, the mid 70s. And so there's reasons that, you know, our local shop has been able to make it. But the reality of the modern pipe shop, though, it's kind of interesting. You know, if you open a premium tobacco shop today, you know, the dynamics of the market are that a lot of folks are going to have to initially focus on the cigar component. And it's just part of it. You know, our shop sells cigars. We love cigars and smoke them and all that kind of stuff. But that's rare nowadays, you know, and most of our friends in the brick and mortar world are, you know, to pay for their pipe passion, their pipe enthusiasm and hobby, they kind of have to double down on the cigar stuff in order to pay the bills on the other. And so, you know, it's just a modern, you know, part of it. And part of that too is also that the margins, you know, for a retailer on cigar stuff tend to be more competitive or more, you know, more, it's better for the retailer basically. So the retailer also has more incentive to do the cigar stuff as related to the pipe stuff. It's kind of odd. But yeah, so because you've got that, you've got these cigar shops that want to get into the pipe world, and you know, so they're trying to use that base to kind of pay for their real passion or their real hobby, which is the pipe. And so, you know, a lot of folks when they're starting out in retail, that's kind of what they have to do, you know, just kind of the nature of it. So today, you know, some of the big you know, difficulties, obviously we've talked about the regulation and that kind of thing. You know, it's difficult on top of that to develop a real pipe community. You know, if you're not able to do simple things like smoke indoors, for instance, which we take for granted here where we live, but, you know, we've got friends in other parts of the country where, you know, it's just not legal to smoke inside. And so, you know, that kind of can be difficult to facilitate in different types of weather and that type of thing. And then, you know, also some parts of the country are just not as friendly to tobacco products in general. You know, was laughing with, you know, one of my friends who lives in Seattle, and he was like, you know, I'd ask you to ship me some pipe tobacco up here, but, you know, really the only thing they'll let me smoke is marijuana. So, you know, and it's, you know, that's fine. Just different parts of the country. Everyone's got their own thing, but, you know, it's just kind of the modern, you know, trying to build a community around that when it's, you know, just a different product and, you know, to some people from a different era. But yeah, you know, the main thing for a tobacconist, I think these days, and the most fun part for us is the creative component of it. You know, the getting in the kitchen and baking kind of thing. You know, like what's your most latest recipe? What you cooking up kind of thing. And you know, for me, that's the draw. That's what brings me back in and day out, along with the community aspect. You know, is just, man, how are we gonna come up with the next thing? How's it gonna be interesting? Man, there's so many Virginia Creeks on the market. What can you do that someone like, you know, Lane or Peterson or whoever hasn't already done? You know, and so you think to yourself, man, that's the fun part, you know, is the creative part of it. And so, you know, we got lucky as an industry. You know, a couple of years ago, of course, this FDA regulations kind of came down from Washington. They had this deeming rule that was done. Y'all probably remember that. And, you know, a lot of the tobacco companies were going around wearing sackcloth, you know, trying to figure out how we were all going to make it, you know, through the next 5 years. And And to be honest with you, the pipe industry and the cigar industry throughout all this has just been hammered over and over and over. And most of the lawsuits our industry has filed have been, unfortunately, have not gone well for us. But what was interesting, a couple of years ago, we won. There was this multi-point lawsuit in a district court in Washington, and I think there were 12 or 13 points in this lawsuit, and we lost all of them. We lost every one of them. But the only one of them that we did prevail on, which is really important to me, not just for my pipe enthusiasm, but my livelihood. I mean, literally to pay my bills and feed my growing family and all the other stuff. But the only one we won was that they protected the right of the artisan tobacconist to blend in a retail brick and mortar environment. And that was really, really key for people like us, people like LJ Peretti, folks in a blending, in a retail environment, that are creating new blends out of tobacco on a regular basis. Essentially what they were going to do throughout all that legislation is they were going to try to take, if I came out with a new aromatic tobacco, they were considering that essentially the same as someone like Philip Morris coming out with a new line of cigarette. Philip Morris, when they do that, they have to get, it has to go through all these, scientific studies and focus groups, and they've got to pay, all these, licensing fees and everything. So it can be for every single SKU, it can wind up being over, $1 million just to get any product at all, approved and to market. And so, for every little tobacco, jar that was going to show up on my shelf, just as a small independent retailer, they wanted us to go through those same processes. And so we won a big victory there. That was big for brick and mortar tobacconists. And you may have, if you go to, a brick and mortar tobacconist and they do some of their own blending or work with raw leaf, kind of similar to we do. You may have seen them jumping up and down there a couple of years ago when that happened. But so we've been thankful for that, and that is kind of a bright spot in some of the overarching insanity of where we're all at. But overall, so we talk about the regulatory stuff and all that and the size of the market. But what's fun to me is seeing the renaissance in pipe smoking that we're seeing, and I say that, to, some of you guys have been smoking your pipe since the 60s. Like, you're like, I used to walk down the grocery store aisle and smoke my pipe while I was shopping for lettuce or whatever, and that's true. Like, it's not, obviously the same as it was then, but even compared to 10, 15 years ago, we are seeing an uptick in the number of smokers that we have. And we're also seeing an uptick in the and I love this, it's in the sophistication of the pipe smoke. It's really interesting. It's the market and what we see as a retail tobacconist, it's less on the quantity and it's more on the quality. And I think that's fascinating. I think it's fascinating. It also, you compare that to the things that we see with, if any of you guys drink, bourbon or something like that, the craft beer kind of renaissance that America has found itself in. People are looking for these artisan products that have a story. A product that has a, where they can say, hey, I met the guy that made this, and the reason he made it like this is because of this and this, and oh, by the way, he makes it in his backyard, and I've seen pictures of that. Or people are looking for this kind of they want to be part of a greater story, and I think that's that's there for a multitude of reasons. Folks right now, with the way the world is changing so dramatically, they're looking for something stable. They're looking for something timeless and consistent. It's, in my mind, it's kind of this, with all the changes going on, it's kind of like people yearning for this meta narrative that they can kind of say, hey, we're a part of something that's greater. And you know, the pipe kind of offers you that. You know, it kind of does. It kind of you know, allows you to be a part of something that connects you with you know, not just folks 50 years ago, but you know, folks 500 years ago in the founding of our country, folks you know, 2,000 years ago doing you know, ceremonies that, you know, honored their ancestors in the, you know, what became the American Midwest. And, you know, I mean, it just, you know, there's something to that. I think that's really powerful. Another thing the pipe does that all you guys know as much as I do, it forces you to slow down. And I love that. That's part of the fun for me. I think, you know, one thing I always say, whenever a shopper comes in the Country Squire, I immediately know if they're a cigar guy or a pipe guy, because the cigar guy, they're going to come in, they're kind of in a rush, they're wearing a lot of jewelry and like flashy, and they, you know, kind of loud, and like they're like, hey, where's your cigars, you know? And the pipe guy typically, you know, is going to come in, it's a little more mousy, and you know, might have some glasses on or something. Not all the time, but you know, it's there's a little more timidity there, and thoughtfulness, and you know, they come over and you know, just have a little quieter experience, you know, and so it's almost immediately, you know, kind of what you're dealing with when they walk through the door.
Hey,
and,
Jon David.
Yeah,
you got. I'm fascinated by this thread that you're on right now, and I wanted to jump in and maybe ask a question if I could.
Please do.
When you talk about sort of belonging to a meta narrative of, you know, of like I'm part of something, I'm one of this kind of community. I mean, I can make a comment for myself personally because I'm a part of other online communities, and what you as a member of have gone to seminary. You're an actual preacher right now? Yes.
Oh, no, you don't want me. No, no. I'm not. No. And actually I dropped out.
You are aware of your nickname, right?
Yeah, I am. It's very unfortunate. Yeah.
Okay. So anyway, my point was that you probably have also experienced what it's like to be part of different kinds of communities. What would you say is the personality of the pipe smoking community, like as maybe compared to other kinds of communities? Yeah.
Well, and you know, it is easy here. You know, great question. It is easy here for us to paint with those broad brushstrokes again. The pipe community, you know, you have in your mind that, you know, professorial, you know, tweed coat with the leather patches, you know, kind of fedora kind of thing. But it's so varied now. You know, I love going to pipe shows, and you've got you know, you've got the surfer pipe guys, and you've got the biker pipe guys, and you've got the Christian pipe guys, and you've got the, you know, everyone. It's just like anything else. I mean, it's so varied. But I do think pipe smokers tend to be more thoughtful. I do. It's a tedious hobby. It's a hobby that requires a lot of patience. It's a hobby that requires a lot of knickknacks and a lot of things that you have to kind of collect to get your set up. You know, I've got next to me, I've got my pipe valet here, and you know, my couple tobaccos that I'm going to be smoking over the next, you know, hour or so, a couple pipes, and all my little tray, and you know, you kind of, pipe smokers feed off that, you know, where everything has a little sense of meaning, you know, and I do think that if you had to give it something, I think it would be that. It would be a thoughtfulness and really a romanticism, really, is what it is. You know, one thing about the pipe, you know, it's different from a cigar in that when you're done smoking your pipe, you still have your pipe. And this pipe has a story. And every time I pick up this particular pipe, I associate it. This pipe, actually, my priest gave me this pipe. It's a Ronaldo. It's got a real pretty kind of, you know, flame grain on there with a nice sterling band that's tarnished, and you know, very beautiful. I'm smoking actually Rattray's Exotic Passion. I don't know if you can read that. My lighting is not very good here. I think I sat the wrong direction, but you know, smoking some of that, and every time you pick up a pipe, you think to yourself like, man, that's a it's got a story. There's a time and a place where you associate it with, and a person, or maybe a season you associate it with, and I think that's what gets pipe smokers probably more than anything, is that sense of connectivity. I don't know. There's probably not a great way to put it, but anyway,
I think
that's
it's a great comment.
yeah. So that's probably what I would say the most. I do think pipe smokers, more than anything, more than looking the same, believing the same ideologies or whatever, having the same mannerisms. It's not about that. It's more of a thoughtfulness. I think that's there that I really appreciate. So folks nowadays are looking for something to help them slow down. This stuff is crazy. I mean, y'all watch the news. I try to not watch the news, but it's exhausting, and folks are looking for something to help them slow down and to calm their heart. And I think those old studies that they try to discount regularly, they always try to discount those studies that show from the 70s that show that pipe smokers live longer than non-smokers. And damn it, I fight for those studies. Man, those are true. That's the real thing, I mean, we all know there's something about the what this does to your heart that allows you to unwind in a way that really nothing else does. So, and I think people crave that, and I think we do see that as a part of our renaissance. So it's
one of the things that I always bring up that we consistently find in studies about health risks is that almost any health risk that you can see, and they're real, nicotine, tar, and all that kind of stuff is a health risk. But
absolutely, let's acknowledge that. Yeah,
acknowledge all that. But there, whatever the health risks that you might have eating processed foods, et cetera, the turning point factor, the thing that turns them into an actual morbidity case is stress. Stress is always the trigger that turns the condition into, I mean, great studies in cardiovascular health about the presence of cholesterol and atherosclerosis. People can be like clogged to the max, but not stressed out, and it never turns into a heart disease, right? So the thing about pipe smoking, I feel like, look at these guys, so mellow here.
They actually have
a handsome group of people I've never seen.
They actually have a Dutch saying about this. I'll say it in Dutch first, and it is: een tevreden pijproker is geen onruststoker. And it literally means a satisfied pipe smoker won't give you trouble. And I think that pretty much sums up what you're trying to say.
Yeah. And just think about how,
which is Dutch for yes, by the way, just so.
Yeah. That that's I think it's a good point. We all, and I'm preaching to the choir here, obviously, but we wouldn't be here without this. I mean, look at this is, we all got stuff to do, and and there's and gosh, there's so much that goes into the pipe, and I'm sitting here setting on something on fire a couple inches away from my face, and it's like this is like the surface of the sun out here, but I do it anyway. I do it every day, because it's good for my heart, and I don't know, there's something about that I think is just really important. So anyway, but yeah, that's really all I have to say today. We do a lot of hand blending at the Country Squire. We obviously sell a lot of pipes. We had a big Esoterica release this week, and so I didn't get a lot of sleep. And we just kind of go through the typical retail stuff like that. But man, I'd be happy to answer any questions that folks might have related to the shop or retail.
Yeah,
or,
and I know that we're really, I'm personally really curious. I've talked to a couple other guys. We want to hear some about your blending and that kind of thing, but maybe we could take a quick sort of side break to see if anybody's got questions. Like, throw some stuff out to Jon David, and also you guys over there on YouTube, if you have some questions that you want me to pose to Jon David, please write it into the comments over there. We got about 15 people over there on YouTube who are watching as well. Welcome. So yeah, just throw it out there, guys. Don't be shy.
So
Hey,
how
David,
has
I sent
the
you
See, we had
I sent you a chat question.
can you say that again?
Yeah, Ed, why don't you go first, and
Okay.
then whoever it was, I didn't catch you the second one, but Ed, yeah.
Yeah, so I was just going to ask John, how has the new baby and the new family changed your pipe smoking habits?
Well, you see where I'm located, right? I'm outside. I am currently outside. Yeah, and man, we luckily our house. I live in a 100-year-old house, and it's got a, back then the porch areas were bigger and all that kind of stuff. So I mean, I've got a comfortable place to smoke, but I miss that inside smoking. I do. That part has been a little difficult, and and then also at nighttime too. What I found, I think when people get their kids get a little older, they start to maybe spend some time smoking their pipe maybe once their kids kind of go down and that kind of thing. But we our family, we take kind of all night long to get our daughter down, and then we're just exhausted from the day and it's late and all this kind of stuff. And so, by the time that, that all happens, it's really time to go to bed. And so it's funny. My bowls at home have become smaller. It seems like, and then during the day while I'm, actually wearing the apron and blending pipe tobacco, they become much more, much bigger. So, yeah, so I'd say, I smoke probably less at home than I used to. Yeah.
Okay.
But it's a lot of fun. Yeah. I want my kids to grow up, just mentioning children and, doing this as a career, while raising a family and all that kind of thing. I want them to be a part of this. If the Lord gives us more kids, and certainly the daughter that we have now, like, I want her to be a part of this. I want them to grow up in the shop weighing up tobacco and being knowledgeable about cigars and knowing the difference between rusticated and sandblasted. And I want my kids to know that. I think that's cool. Back in the 90s, our shop was run primarily by women, and it was very common for if you came in the Country Squire to buy tobacco, to have your tobacco weighed up by a seventh grader or something like that. And I think that's great. I hope my kids are all around it. So, but right now they need to be in the crib asleep so that we can sleep.
So somebody else had a question. Just go for it.
Yeah, David, it's Sunbear. I sent you a chat with a question that I have. My connection sucks right now.
Where are you? You have to.
It was a private chat.
Oh, okay. So yeah, I'll go look for it. There's a question over here from YouTube, and then if somebody else has a question, just pop it in there. So Michael over there on YouTube says, I live in the north where weather changes drastically, and that dictates what kind of tobacco I smoke. Does this happen in the south where the weather does not change as much?
Well, it may not change in this spectrum, but it changes in this spectrum. We do. It's just suffocatingly hot here, so much of the year. And so during that time of year, I tend to smoke more aromatics and Virginia blends. For some reason, Virginia is very the grassiness and the nicotine content is just very, very pleasant to me in hot weather. There's something about after you get done cutting the grass, smoking just a Virginia, flake that, and mixed with a really crisp beer, that's just, it's just like summertime for me. And so, and then as we get into the winter, which of course, a cold winter here, I mean, it's, it's such a moderate, winter compared to most of you guys. We might have a few days in the 20s, in a place like Jackson. So, during the winter time. But we do smoke more, more English style blends then. And I have noticed too, our aromatic smokers during the winter time, they pivot, in the hotter months, they'll pivot from your more fruit based blends that tend to have more of that tart berry component. They'll pivot towards the more confectionery, savory aromatics that feature more chocolate, vanilla, caramel, things of that nature. And then also our shop's interesting. We really, for whatever reason, we just really blend and love a lot of these crossover blends, these English aromatics that, nuanced aromatics that also have a nice dose of latakia, essentially. And so in the wintertime, we see the sales of those go up as well. So I'd say that's probably how it changes here. Yeah.
I'll see what you're doing.
John David, I gotta say this 50th anniversary is amazing.
Have you enjoyed it? Man, that's great. We worked
Yes,
really
this
hard.
is the first time I. Go ahead.
Oh no, that's great. We worked really hard on that. That was a collaboration between us and Sutliff, and just really thrilled with how that came out. We wanted, I was talking to someone the other day. It's like, well, how do you determine what's going to be your 50th anniversary tobacco? And frankly, I'm just selfish. It's like, well, what do I like? Well, I like Virginia Periques, and by golly, we're gonna have, it's a time-honored tobacco. We, our state is, close to Louisiana where they grow Perique. I'm sure I could stretch out some, reasons why that's a meaningful thing to pick for your 50th anniversary tobacco. But, doggone it, I just like Virginia Periques. And so, then we did that. We wanted something I knew that would be, a good tobacco to be aged. And that also had, the accelerated, I guess, advantage of being a pressed tobacco. So that was really nice. But yeah, we had a lot of fun with that, and went back and forth on recipes for quite a while. That was a project that lasted more than a year with our friends at Sutliff. They're great, by the way. Like, regardless what you think of their tobaccos, like they're a real asset to the to the pipe world in the U.S. They really, I can't say that enough. That's not true for all I'll say that's not true for all tobacco manufacturers, but they are truly an asset to the pipe community in the U.S. And so just very thankful for how they worked with us on that. And yeah, we wanted something full body, but also naturally sweet, peppery, but not overly, a bomb in any kind of direction, whether, be, too much Perique, too much Latakia. We wanted something that was going to be a nuanced tobacco, and I think we found that. So I'm glad you're enjoying it.
Yeah, this is the first time I've tried it. I've kept it sealed, and I'm quite amazed. So thank you.
Yeah, that's great. It really shines with some age on it. That particular tobacco, smoking iterations of it kind of throughout the process, and then, having the finished product, and you smoke it fresh right after it's manufactured, and you compare it to, even 4 months, 3 or 4 months down the road, it shines really well. So anyway, I'm glad you're enjoying it. Thanks for
Jon David, is it still in stock?
It is, yeah. So fortunately, it has been so popular that we are planning on making it a permanent fixture, and so we'll just have it around. Yeah, it's gonna be nice to keep it around. But
however, we need to make a post about that on the page.
Yeah, man. Please let people know. I mean, obviously, we're very thankful that folks have embraced it and everything. But yeah, we're hoping, if the sales continue like they are and the feedback continues like it is, we're just going to plan to keep it around.
Sweet. Jon David, I have a question here from one of the guys in the group here. His connection's a little wonky. Says, I like Cavendish and Latakia with either Burley, Virginia, and or Kentucky. No Orientals or Perique. Is there a country Squire blend like this that I can try?
Yeah, we actually have something that came out not too long ago called Cowboy Coffee. Cowboy Coffee is it has got a lot of dark-fired Kentucky in that blend, but it has some aromatic components that make it, make the room smell nice, and there's a sweetness to it that I think is a lot of fun. So you'll have a Burley. It's got a little Virginia in it, but that Burley and just some light aromatic components. But then most of the focus is on that dark fired, which is just really really handsome. So I would commend you to that if that's something that interests you. Yeah, it's got a lot of dark fired in it. It really does. And if that's not a tobacco you're used to, if you're nicotine sensitive, maybe it might be kind of difficult for you. But I will say that's become one of our top 5 sellers. We've done really well with that one. So
I love the name, man. That's a powerful name there.
Yeah, Cowboy Coffee that evoked that bunch of roughnecks sitting around a campfire, drinking that coffee that was serving a purpose. You know what I mean? It wasn't just drinking coffee to have coffee. We needed that coffee to do something, and we think Cowboy Coffee does that. It has a lot of nicotine, it does, but it's so it makes your heart thump, which I like. But it's also very flavorful and I think has a nice room note as well.
So another question from over there on YouTube. Wants to know, JBN wants to know if all your blends are from tobaccos that you personally select or from bulk blends that already exist. Like, how do you source your tobaccos?
Yeah, both actually. We use both, and so that's the kind of the very difference. A lot of tobacconists have their own methods of doing stuff. There are some tobacconists that they make their own blends, but they literally just rename things like 1Q or whatever. But we do blend our own recipes at the Squire, and if we sell lane 1Q, we call it lane 1Q and all that kind of stuff. But we do both. We use whole leaf tobacco that is already on the market essentially. There's some great blenders out there that to us retail guys will give access to some of their raw ingredients. And so, over the years, we've been able to develop relationships with, folks at, the former McClellan, but, now Sutliff and, Mac Barron and Cornell and Deal and some of these other guys that, that have the ingredient by itself where you're working with a processed tobacco. It's not a whole leaf, but it is a processed tobacco essentially in its rawest form. That you can get outside of a blend essentially. So we work with a lot of that, and we kind of use a whole spectrum there. But I'd tell you which blends included which ones, but I'd have to bury you in my backyard. But yes, we use all the above. Yeah.
I'm sure we're willing to sacrifice somebody. That's fine.
Say it again.
I said, I'm sure we're willing to sacrifice just a single member. That's fine.
The same guy over there on YouTube, JBN, wants to know if you can recommend, quote unquote, a sweet Latakia blend.
Well, we do, as I mentioned before, we do like these kind of crossover English style blends that have some added flavor to them. That's just something that we traditionally have done a lot of at our shop. Probably the best seller we have right now in that, and my favorite currently, is one called Northwest Trek. Trek has a dose of Latakia, but if it weren't for a couple specific ingredients in there, it would really be an English blend. But it just has a nice kind of vanilla nutty essence to it that makes the room smell great. And it's one of those aromatics that, when you're smoking it, you can taste it. It doesn't just taste like hot air. You can taste that, kind of nice, subtle, confectionery tone that comes in there. We really like that. So I would recommend that to you.
And I want to add to that. Well, it's harder and harder to find, but McClelland Frogmorton on the Town is delicious, very mild, smooth, sweet English blend. It's Virginia forward, so it has latake. You can taste it, but it's Virginia forward, so it has that nice sweetness. And then Russell's Bengal slices. It's heavier. It's still English, heavier than Frogmorton on the Town, but again, it has nice sweetness, and it's a crossover English aromatic.
That's great. Boy, we miss all the McClelland blends for a variety of reasons. Yeah, we do.
I did have a question. Hopefully you can hear me all right. I'm driving through the mountains on a semi-truck in New Mexico. But
yeah, you're coming in loud and clear.
Perfect. One of the other guys at the start of the Zoom call said that he had something called Texas tea that you made. Can I still get that on the website?
That's currently not available, unfortunately. We've been fortunate enough to been selected as the we've made a couple of custom blends for different events, basically, and so the one of those was the Texas Pipe Show. I guess that was about 3 years ago now. They asked us to make the official blend of that show, and it was aromatic called Texas Tea, and it was good. It did pretty well, and then wound up kind of tapering off on sales and things like that. And some of the ingredients got a little difficult to get, and so we actually retired it. But I'd like to come back out with it down the road because it was a fun tobacco that people enjoyed. So that's good. I'm glad you mentioned it. That kind of gives me some hope that maybe it's worth worth investing some time into. So.
Yeah, sure. Tyler, I'd say I'd send you some, but I'm down to my last couple bowls.
Darn. Yeah, and I found out about this last minute, so unfortunately, being over the road, I wasn't able to bring any of your originals on the road with me. But I am smoking a Country Gentleman by Missouri Meerschaum. So
excellent. That's great. Yeah, that's probably one of our better selling Missouri Meerschaums. We love those guys for y'all know that we love them.
Yeah, I also have a question for you. Well, I do some pipe tobacco blending myself for like over 5 years. Actually, 5 years ago, one of the blends I made together with Chris McGrath was sold as limited edition Nat Sherman 85th anniversary tobacco at Nat Sherman. I'm just curious, how did you get into tobacco blending?
Well, how did I get into tobacco blending? Is that right?
Yes.
Yeah. So, I started working at this shop, literally as a grad student. I was just kind of doing part-time work to pay bills. I had started smoking a pipe when I was 18. Living in Mississippi, everybody's been chewing tobacco and stuff like this, and that was too low rent for me. I had to do something sophisticated, so I picked the pipe up and had smoked a pipe since then. And so I when I was looking for a job to kind of help get me through grad school, I applied at the Country Squire, and they hired me, and the little old lady that was running the shop at the time taught me my kind of base information on blending tobacco, processing tobacco, and all that kind of stuff. And so learned it there, and then really just kind of picked it up. It was a real it's an effort to just be a student of the craft, and so asking a lot of questions, trying to beg people like Greg Peace to tell you what they know, and just reading a lot of books and and things like that. And you just kind of pick it up along the way. But mostly it's trial and error. It really is just trial and error. It's fortunately we have the ability to have a variety of ingredients and access to some stuff that some people don't have, I guess. But but you've got as a consumer blender, I mean, there's so many good products out there that you can work with, just very easily, to just kind of tinker around with. And, I encourage people to do it. I really do. It's a lot of fun. It is a lot like baking, you're like a dash of this, a dash of that, and it, before you know it, you've got your recipe.
For my blends, I started with blending tobaccos from different sources like McClellan, Cornlandil, Lane mostly, but now I also make some of my blends from whole leaf tobacco. And the only additive I use is calcium propionate as antifungal, so mold wouldn't grow in it. I just spray it with a 0.5% calcium propionate solution, and nothing else, just straight tobacco.
That's great. That's great.
Jon
That's
David,
where some of the most fun is. Yeah.
Could you maybe walk us through your process from concept to having it on the shelf?
Yeah. And by the way, I just switched pipes here. I'm smoking one of the newer Camoys that my wife bought me for Christmas a couple years ago, and I swapped over to, let's see, what am I smoking to? This Savinelli Janus. They call it an Antique Virginia. I haven't figured out what an Antique Virginia is yet, but it tastes good. So, whenever I blend a new pipe tobacco, inspiration comes from a variety of sources. A lot of times it's literally just a hole in our shop's lineup. It's like, well, we've got this tobacco, or we don't have enough in this kind of area, or we had to discontinue this one because it was hard to find some ingredients. So what do we replace it with? But a lot of times folks come in and suggest something. They're like, hey, I really wish we had a tobacco or wish you sold a tobacco that featured, X and Y ingredients. But a lot of it, probably most of my inspiration has just been, what do I want to smoke? What's something that, interests me. And it's always fun to do that because you feel, when you're talking about those products and those tobaccos, that, hey, you're the one, hey, it's like the hair club for men guy. I'm not just the president, I'm also a client kind of thing, we want to smoke the stuff that we make and really believe in it and enjoy it. So that's a lot of the fun for me. But yeah, when you come up with the concept, you might decide, hey, I'm kind of craving some of these flavors, and so you'll go, whether it's an aromatic or a peppery Perique blend or something that features a specific Oriental leaf that kind of has an interesting flavor to it. By the way, there's someone behind me using a drill, so I don't know. Hopefully that's not interfering too badly. But and so you kind of come up with the idea of what you want, and then I've always found it good to start with a smaller number of ingredients and then add from there. It's really, if you are interested in blending, I would highly recommend just try and get your hands on some loose Latakia, pure Perique, some bright leaf, some stove Virginia, some matured Virginia, just the different components, and smoking them by itself, even a half a bowl of Latakia by itself, just so you know kind of what that tastes like. But that's more of an aside. When we're blending, I like to try to start with a small amount of ingredients and kind of add on from there. And that way I have a very clear idea of, if we added this, how did that specifically tinker with the flavor and how it's different from what it was too. Another thing too, that's real important is as you're adding ingredients to a blend, you have to be patient because time and pressure and heat makes such a difference, as you guys know, in the flavor of a tobacco. And so you can't just throw all these leaves together and expect them to taste a certain way. You really do have to have the patience to put them back and to let them sit for a while and marinate and how does it affect it with that time and on it with this leaf in it as compared to this leaf. And so a lot of times these blends might take several months, in one case a couple of years, to blend before you get them kind of where you want them. So but it's a lot of trial and error. I think some of the most interesting blends that happen are when you go in thinking you're going to make let's say an English style blend, and you come out with more of what I might consider like a Scottish mixture, something that features more Virginias and Orientals. And so it's almost like you once you get into the kitchen and you're like, well, I'm kind of liking where this is going. I kind of came in here thinking this, but and then before you know it, you've kind of gone down the rabbit hole and it's taking you somewhere else. So I like that. I think that's a lot of fun. The hardest part about it for me is once you get it where you like it. And again, it kind of comes probably from a lot of my being timid and just kind of an introvert. But the most difficult part for me is giving it to someone else and asking them what they think. That's hard. That's hard. And you've got your precious jewels. You spend all this time and effort crafting something that you in the end are proud of, and you're going to give someone else the opportunity to accept it or reject it, and that's hard. Yeah, that's hard, but it's a good exercise. So.
Yeah, I always used guys at Nut Sherman store as my guinea pigs, those who were pipe smokers, and also guys in our pipe club, in New York Pipe Club. And I always ask them what they don't like about my new blend. I don't really care very much about what they like about it. I want to know what they don't like.
What they don't
I
like.
can improve.
That's great. That means you've got the right attitude. It's you got to be willing to face that inner critic, and receive that feedback in order to get better. So I think that's great.
I have maybe another question, if I can. Tobacco is obviously a natural product, and if I compare it to something really basic and silly like a tomato, then a tomato tastes very different depending on where it's grown, how it's grown, whether it was a good year or a bad year, how much sun there was, how much rain, these kind of things. So even though you plant the same seed in the same area at the same time, a different product comes out. And I'm kind of wondering how you can maintain the balance in a certain tobacco with a varying natural product. If that's something you encounter and have trouble with, and how you solve these issues.
Yeah, that's a great question. We actually have had to change over time some of the recipes of our tobacco because we noticed it started tasting different from year to year. And in another case, so we've actually either changed the recipe to try to keep the same flavor profile, or we've allowed the tobacco with those ingredient ratios and all that, we've allowed that blend to change, but then created new blends to come in and fill the gap where the old blend used to exist. So it's kind of, you can go a few ways, but you're exactly right. We're talking about a natural product here that has, think about, moisture content and, stuff growing in the ground, the worms around the, how much, it's just all, every bit of it is, sunlight and humidity and all these things, how they were harvested and how long they sat on the truck and all this stuff. I mean, it's just, it all goes into the final product. So, yeah, we have done that regularly. we've had to tinker with our recipes to make sure they either come out consistently, or we've had to just come out with new blends to try to recapture what we were going for before.
Can you give me an example of this happening? And maybe, oh, sorry.
Well, go ahead.
I was going to ask, can you give me an example of this happening? And I'm very aware of the fact that you might not want to disclose certain recipes, but just, of how something changed and how you approach that change. Like maybe something, I can imagine, for example, something is less sweet or less peppery. Let's keep it very global, and how you approach those kind of challenges or nuances.
Yeah, I'll give you an example with actually our best-selling tobacco. It's a very simple tobacco called Cherokee, and Cherokee for decades was a combination of a few leaves that was just very straightforward. I think Cherokee is our best seller because it's an aromatic, but it tastes like tobacco. When you're smoking Cherokee, it's just a straightforward tobacco. It's not as sweet as like a 1Q. It's more it just kind of harkens back to some of those more mid-century drugstore tobaccos. But it's just very clean. But so that particular tobacco, it's our best seller. So you got to get it right, right? Well, back in the 90s, this was before my time, but they actually noticed that the leaf quality that they were able to get was starting to change. It wasn't bad, but it was different, and it was starting to change the flavor profile of our best-selling tobacco. And so we had these folks come in, and they were, like, I'm getting this, and so it was just kind of all over the map. And so what we actually did back then, again, this is before my time, but I've just been familiar with the story. They actually broke Cherokee up into 3 different iterations. They had Cherokee 1, Cherokee 2, and Cherokee 3, where they kind of tried some different recipes to see which one would be closest to the original. And so all 3 of them kind of had their favorites. You had Cherokee number 1 smokers, Cherokee number 2 smokers, and then number 3. And over time, they found that Cherokee number 2 had developed into the closest, facsimile of the original. And so Cherokee number 2 became the best seller. And for years and years, we had this, folks came in the store and they asked for Cherokee number 2. And Cherokee number 1 was, in second place. And then Cherokee number 3 was kind of relegated to the back of the shelf kind of thing. It just never made it as much. Well, eventually they turned Cherokee number 2 into just Cherokee again. So they were like, this is close enough to the original recipe flavor that we're gonna call this the original name. And then Cherokee number 1, they actually changed the name to Choctaw, which we still have today. Mississippi, our state, we are right down the road here is a large reservation of the Mississippi Band of Choctaw Indians, and the Choctaw Nation. They're a big part of our local history, and a big part of our state's culture, and very honored and everything. And so they did that to honor the Choctaws here. The Cherokee, oddly enough, I'll just as a brief story. There's not really any Cherokee Native Americans in Mississippi. That's not really a thing. But so where did they get? Why did we name a tobacco called Cherokee here in Mississippi? Well, our founder, she grew up on East Cherokee Street, and she just really loved her hometown, and so she named that blend Cherokee after her street that she grew up on, and that's where that came from. So anyway, kind of
I appreciate the insight. Thank you very much.
Yeah, man, sure thing. Yeah.
Yeah, I have a related question. I know that to maintain a blend consistency in cigars, they because from year to year leaf is different, so they substitute one ingredient for another. For example, what was like jalapa leaf from one year might be replaced by Honduran leaf from another year crop to have same flavor. How about your blends? Do you substitute it with a different tobacco, or you change proportions, or both?
We do some of both. More often probably than not, we yeah, I'd say more probably often than not we substitute tobaccos like that for different varietals, or just different sources of a certain type of burley we'd like to use, or something of that nature, bright leaf. But that probably happens more often than changing proportions. But we do both. Yeah, we do both. So.
Thank you very much.
Jon David, somebody was asking if you have a pipe club that used to meet at the store.
Yeah, we do. Our state is the Magnolia State, and we have the Magnolia Pipe Club that meets once a month at the Country Squire. So, during, as y'all know as well as we do, the COVID pandemic has made it difficult, for us to keep meeting and all that kind of stuff. And that's why this kind of thing has become so awesome. We've, created a new way to foster community and all that. And so that's been really precious. But yeah, we have we do have a local pipe club. Yeah, the Magnolia Pipe Club.
I did have another question. I know one of the other guys on here had mentioned that they were smoking Old Toby in a church warden. And I was just curious, in your opinion, out of the tobaccos you make, what is another good tobacco to smoke on a church warden?
Yeah, think about that. Well, the church warden, you think like Old Toby. We kind of have this obsession with, some of those early 20th century British writers. Big C.S. Lewis fan and all this kind of stuff. So there is a natural desire to smoke something called Old Toby out of a church warden, just by itself. But the church warden always tends to cool the smoke down a little bit. I don't think it's as dramatic as some people say, but I do think it tends to cool the smoke down a little bit. I find that Virginias smoke well out of small bowl church wardens, just to take the edge off some of that brighter leaf. We have a tobacco. It's another one of our Tolkien-inspired blends. It's called Bag End. I blended that several years ago. It's a blend. It's Virginia Ford. Yeah, you got some there, David Dorian. It's a Virginia Ford blend. It's got a couple of different Oriental leaves in there, and then it's backed up, kind of undergirded with some Latakia to give it some body. I really like that blend. It's a interesting blend for a Virginia smoker. Just to kind of mix it up a little bit. It's got a really nice brightness to it that I appreciate. And that smokes good out of a church warden. It does. It's got again, just enough of that kind of ripe, sugary flavor to shine with that little longer stem. So yeah. I will say, I'm a straight pipe smoker. The previous pipe I was smoking today is a kind of a, quarter bend, half bend pipe. But I am a straight pipe smoker, and I do notice that on these more wet tobaccos, if you are going to smoke a full church warden, which I don't find myself smoking as much as I used to, but the church wardens, they develop a lot of, especially the bent ones, they can develop a lot of condensation. And so I find that the tobaccos that don't naturally yield themselves to that already, real syrupy aromatics and stuff. I think the drier tobaccos that just naturally tend to smoke a little cleaner do well out of a church warden with the deeper bend. So anyway, just my 2 cents.
Sounds good. And if you don't mind me asking, it just so happened to cut out on my end when you said the name of the blend. Could you say that again?
Oh, yeah. It's Bag End, Bagend.
Okay.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about all of those Tolkien-inspired names of blends there. Are they sort of all over the map in terms of their composition and flavors, or did you have a single theme that you were going for?
No, we wanted to have kind of a broad spectrum, and what's funny, we kind of, this is always it's tough because we have fans of Tolkien that come to us and they're like, oh, you've made these blends and those are great. The next one you need to come out with is this or this or this, and I just want to announce we're done. Like there's no more Tolkien blends. Like we're I have enough. I guess we've barked up that tree, and that's we love J.R.R. Tolkien and the Middle Earth universe and all that stuff, but we probably won't come out with another Tolkien blend. Just moving on to other projects and themes and things like that. But yeah, we wanted that series to have a little bit of everything, and so it's got some syrupy aromatics. It's got some aromatics that are more middle of the road, semi sweet. It's got some blends that feature bright leaf, more matured Virginias, and then Latakia. So they're kind of all over the map. Yeah.
I enjoy them too. Another question from over there on YouTube. JB wants to know if you've got any Country Squire blends similar to Throgmorton Cellar.
The closest one we have is a blend called Shepherd's Pie. Shepherd's Pie has been it's become one of our probably top 2 selling tobaccos. It's a full English. It does feature some unflavored black Cavendish. It does not have the whiskey aromatic component. I mean, it's a real English blend. It doesn't have that whiskey aromatic component that Cellar had, but at least we didn't blend it that way. But a lot of people have gone from Cellar to Shepherd's Pie and found that a really good substitute there. I think it's just got enough natural sweetness to be a good kind of fill. So people love it. It's been great. I don't smoke a lot of Latakia myself. I do smoke it. We blend it and obviously use it a lot. But I don't smoke it as much as some other people do. But we worked really hard when we blended that tobacco. Oddly enough, we did not try to mimic Throgmorton or anything. When that came out. And that was actually, if I'm remembering correctly, we came out with Shepherd's Pie maybe right before McClelland went out of business, if I'm remembering that right. So I don't even think it was after. I think it was maybe when Throgmorton was still available when we came out with that. But regardless, a lot of folks, post McClelland have kind of gravitated towards that particular blend to replace Frog Stellar. Got a couple guys that really like and miss the on the Bayou, Throgmorton on the Bayou, which was probably my favorite. And so what we found is if you do about 3 parts of Shepherd's Pie to 1 part Perique, the Perique we use, which tends to have that nice kind of slimy texture that I really like. It. You open the bag up and it just smells like a mushroom. Really like the Perique we use. But if you will put that back, blend it together very thoroughly, and then put it back for about a month, that's a really nice substitute for Throgmorton on the Bayou. And so we do that for some people. We don't do custom blends on our website, but if you call our shop, just like most other tobacconists that are similar to us, if you call us or certainly walk in, we blend stuff to order. And so if you want a dash of this or a dash of that, or hey, I like this blend but it burns too hot, can you help me with it? We do that kind of stuff all the time. So anyway, if that's ever something you want to do, just
yeah. So forgive me for asking it, sort of just business wise. That's really fascinating. What does that cost to have a custom blend?
It's not any additional fee. That's just something that we do. That's something we've always done, and I think is the hallmark of a real tobacconist. You know, we've got a card file in our shop that is much older than I am, and that it's full of recipes of, you know, many of those folks that are in that card file. They have been deceased for years and years and years, but there's some really good recipes in that file that folks just developed over the years. Some of them are blends of blends. Some of them are, you know, I like this blend, but I wanted, you know, maybe a little more Latakia or something of that nature. Some of them are from scratch. You know, it's just like, you know, I really like this type of, you know, this varietal of, you know, Virginia. Can we use this as our base and then add on with other ingredients? And so that's a lot of fun. That's a lot of fun.
That's amazing. That's something also that I think we should put up on the page there. I'm certain that based on what you just said, other tobacconists are doing the same kind of thing. But frankly, I never thought of doing that myself, because I thought it would be like, okay, well, you know, that's somebody's time and energy to make that. It's going to be kind of a spendy tobacco.
You know, that's the thing. It is time and energy. It is, but there's I mean, that's why we do what we do. You know, I have so much incentive, you know, as a pipe enthusiast, but also as a retailer. Like I want you to find the right thing that you're going to enjoy, because I know if you do, you're gonna turn to it, and it's something that you're gonna be proud of and enjoy more often. And so, yeah, we've developed. I mean, I've had people that have almost given up the pipe over things like tongue bite or the room note that their wife hated or something like that. And because we made some small, you know, changes to a blend here and there, we've made it either palatable to a spouse, or, you know, they get their flavor back on their tongue, or, you know, whatever it is. And man, that's some of my proudest moments, or some of my customers that I've kept in pipe smoking, just because we've changed up a blend or created them something from scratch. So it's a lot of fun. Yeah.
That's awesome. So what other questions do you guys have for JD there?
So all that being said, if someone called into the shop wanting a little blend like that, could they order something that you have discontinued, maybe like Texas tea?
Perhaps there are a couple of leaves right now that we don't carry, that we used to carry when we made Texas tea. So I don't think currently I could produce Texas tea. But there are some of our older. Yeah, no, that's great. There are some blends that we used to have. Pilgrim's Muse. There was Fleur de Lis, Pirates Alley. Some of those blends that we can make occasionally to order. And then there are some blends like our holiday varietals. We come out every year with figgy pudding and cordial friends, and we intentionally do not make those for the majority of the year, and only make those available, you know, around Christmas time. So so you do have to wait for those, but the other ones, you know, occasionally we can make if we've got the ingredients.
I'm going to maybe steer us back to something about the shop itself. So, because I don't know that I understood entirely. So do you guys carry cigars, or are you strictly pipes and pipe tobacco?
No, we do carry cigars. I think it would be very difficult for any premium tobacconist today to not carry them, because they cover the appeal is so broad nowadays. It's breathtaking. I will say we are one of the few, I guess, more prominent, you know, brick and mortar shops that do more pipe business than cigar business. Even some of the most well-known shops that you think of as pipe shops still do more cigar business than they do pipe business. But their pipes like ours are just front and center, and, you know, that's what they're identified with. But they actually do more cigar business now. But we still are majority pipe. at the Squire, but we do both. Yeah.
And so outside of cigars, then, what is your most popular item, pipe or pipe tobacco or accessories or?
Well, so outside, I mean, so like what's the most popular product we sell outside of cigars? Is that kind of, yeah. You know, in our tobaccos, it's still Cherokee pipe tobacco, that Cherokee #2 that became Cherokee. That's still our best seller. As far as a pipe goes, we're a Savinelli shop. We always have been. We are unrepentant about loving Savinelli. We just been big fans of theirs for a very long time, and so we sell so many Savinelli unfinished pipes, and we sell more Bing's favorite Savinelli pipes than I think any other brick and mortar retailer in the United States. We sell so many Bing's. It's breathtaking how many Bing's favorites we sell. And it's just because I smoke them and we believe in them. It's just one of those things that we kind of tend to put people on because we know they're going to get a good experience. So, so there's that. You know, as far as you know, like tinned tobaccos, there again, you know, Orlick Golden Sliced is probably our best-selling tin, and that's, you know, probably in part because we believe in it, but also, you know, for decades have carried all the, you know, Dunhill blends that are now Peterson, and all the legacy Peterson blends, the, you know, the 3P and the Irish whiskey and the you know, Irish flake and all that. We've sold a lot of those. We do a lot of Mac Baren business. We do a whole lot of business with them. I believe in their tobaccos and everything that comes out of their factory. We love what the folks at Mac Baren do. So another thing that is not pipe related that we sell, but that some of you guys may be into as well, but we do a lot of nasal snuff. We do, it's kind of something different that we do, but we sell quite a bit of nasal snuff at our shop. And matter of fact, on the tobacco bar, if you come to our store, there's this little brass turtle. And if you look, if you just are walking up to the bar, you'll see this little turtle sitting there and you'll think, oh, that's kind of cute. But you open up the shell of the turtle, kind of opens up, and it's a snuff box, and that's just our house snuff. And so if anyone comes in and they just want to get a little pinch of snuff, like that's just our house snuff. You're welcome to it if you come in, free of charge. You know, don't tell the FDA, but but yeah, that's just, you know, something we always have done as well.
I have a question.
Also, I was going to say
ahead.
real quickly, we also sell twist tobacco by the inch as well, which a lot of folks don't see very often. But we try to keep the Gaywith and Hogarth twists, at least some assortment of them in stock. And we don't sell them by weight; we sell them by inch in the kind of ancient method. So you know, that's another thing we do anyway. But so yeah, sir, sorry to interrupt. I think you were about to ask something.
Yeah, I've got a question. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, sure can.
This may be very stupid. I noticed that you have a blend called Seersucker, and C&D also has a Seersucker. Does that ever cause conflict or confusion?
That's actually Deal came out with one called that, and you know, people know our shop, you know, as far as a brick and mortar goes, but we're still a small brick and mortar shop. C&D is so big compared to what we are. And so, so I was at the Chicago Pipe Show. This was right after they came out with their blend called Seersucker, and Jeremy Reeves, their head blender, kind of walks up to me, and he's kind of hanging his head a little bit, and you know, he's like, "Man, Jon David, I just wanted you to know, like, you know, we didn't know you had a blend called Seersucker." And you know, and I'm like, dude, you're Jeremy Reeves. You do whatever you want. Y'all are Cornell and Deal, man. You have it. So, but we do have a blend called Seersucker that we came out with several years ago, and the two blends could not be more different. Ours is actually a raspberry aromatic, and theirs is a cigar leaf featured blend, and so could not be more different. But we did have a good laugh about that. Yeah.
Awesome.
Good stuff.
Jon David, we're getting to the last 20 minutes of the meeting when, you know, I try to encourage the guys who haven't had a chance to chat with you or to ask questions. Like, you know, I know that I've said this many times, and you guys know that there's no priority, no favorites here. Just, you know, everybody gets a chance to chat and or not when you're like, I just want to hang and listen. But you know, if you've got a question or thought or whatever, don't hold back. Let's really take advantage of the fact that Jon David's given us so much of his time. Yeah, Tim, go ahead there.
Yeah, John, can you recommend or mention what are your crossover blends? I'm very interested in those, and I'd like to order some from the shop. Which ones are the crossover blends?
Yeah. Earlier I mentioned Northwest Trek, which would probably be one of the first ones that I would recommend. And we have another one called Hunting Creek, which is probably a little more aromatic, but has a healthy dose of Latakia as well. And then the third one I would mention would be PS Blend. That's PS, stands for Paul Simmons. That's a guy that he has been deceased since 1979, but his blend in the 70s was so popular that it became one of our house favorites and is still on the shelf today. So PS Blend, but one of those three I'd recommend to you.
Thank you.
Yeah, man, sure thing. We're honored, man. People. It's always so funny. I'm so grateful that y'all asked me to come here, but I really just am a redneck with the microphone. You know, like, you know, I just, man, I'm a pipe smoker and tobacco lover, and man, I still have to pinch myself when people want to try the stuff we make. It's pretty cool. So anyway, we're very honored to be here, and you know, would love to send you some.
Jon David, do you have a state excise tax there?
We do. It's 15%, which people in our state complain about, but then when they hear about the excise taxes in other states, don't complain about. So we actually are pretty fortunate on our excise tax in Mississippi.
Ours here in Minnesota is 95% of wholesale price.
Yes. And, you know, my friends, you know, in the Great Lakes, Upper Midwest, Pacific Northwest, you know, I don't know how a retailer does it. I really don't. You know, there's, I don't know. You know, but that is the case. What in our state, one thing that's interesting about our state regime that they have set up. The good thing about most other states is that you don't. The tobacconist doesn't have to pay the excise tax until they sell the tobacco product. So in most states, you know, you won't have to pay that 90% until you sell the product. In our state, I have 48 hours to send the excise tax into the state as soon as it walks in the door. So I have to pay it on the front end. I can't wait for the product to sell before I remit the excise tax. And so that you know, some of our, you know, in the South, some of the surrounding states that we have lower excise tax regimes, kind of like we do, and so that makes us a little less competitive from that standpoint in our region. But I mean, overall, we're very fortunate, you know, where we are as pipe.
We have not only the pay on receipt. When they first implemented the excise tax, you had to pay retro on your entire inventory.
Yeah, that's breathtaking. I don't know. I'm not a political animal, but I have a lot of thoughts about that. Yeah.
A couple of questions from over there on YouTube again. We have a guy who's a beginning pipe smoker.
That's great.
And he says, and he's turning to you as the god of tobacco, saying, do you have an ultimate tip for getting the most taste of the tobacco on the tongue?
Yeah, smoke slowly. Smoke slowly. People get tired of me saying it. Man, you know, learn how to sip your pipe. Learn how to sip your pipe. You know, as a new pipe smoker, you are so prone to chase those big plumes of smoke, those big billows of smoke. You know, it's so satisfying to take that big puff and see this big cloud emanate from your mouth. But the key to flavor is to smoke it at a cooler temperature, and that cooler temperature will only come if you're burning it at a slower rate. And so, yeah, learn. You know, you have to. There's a smoke in your pipe. It's that rhythm. Once you get the lid, and by the way, you'll notice I'm having trouble myself today because I'm running my mouth and not really focusing on my pipe as much. But so I've had to relight mine several times. But do as I say, not as I do today. But but one thing, you know, once you light your pipe, you do have to spend some time and energy and some strength getting your pipe lit. But once it's lit and you've tamped it, once it's good and lit, you've got a nice rolling smoke. It's time at that point to slow your cadence down. And once you start slowing it down, you start sipping your pipe. Your pipe is going to smoke at a cooler temperature, and it's going to and it's going to yield more flavor. And that really is the key. And if you say, well, my pipe, you know, if I do that, it starts going out and all this stuff. Just remember how to use this. You know, always remember to tamp your ashes. You know, occasionally during your smoke. But another thing too that I found, you know, I don't know if everybody, if some folks can just see the video, or if some people cannot see but just hear. But for those of you that can just see, one thing I find that's very helpful, you know, a lot of people when they relight their pipe, they think they have to spend as much time with the flame relighting their pipe as they did when they initially lit their pipe. And when you do that, it's going to cause a lot of discomfort on your tongue. And so what I encourage people to do, if you do have to relight your pipe, it doesn't take much flame. Your pipe really is ready to be relit. If you'll just introduce a little flame to your pipe, just almost a kiss of flame to the bowl, your pipe is ready to be lit. It'll come right back. And then once you get it going again, you can smoke it at that cooler temperature. But anyway, that's a very long way of saying just learn how to sip your pipe. So,
that's awesome.
I hope that helps.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And then one other question, Jon David, do you guys ship internationally?
We do. We ship all over the world. And then we ship actually to all 50 states. So now if you get on our website, it'll say that we don't ship to Maine and Washington State. But we are comfortable, if you call us on the phone at the shop, we will be glad to ship to either of those states as well. We just have to do those orders over the phone. But we ship all over the world.
Awesome. I have one more question from myself there. What is it? So you have a broad perspective as a pipe enthusiast yourself, as a blender, a tobacconist, and as a retail owner. What's something that you wish that more people knew about pipes and pipe smoking that, you know, might open their eyes to another aspect of pleasure, or, you know, draw them into smoking, trying it in the first place? You know, what's something is like one of your secrets you got, more people ought to know about this? And we lost him. I guess I shouldn't have asked that particular question. That was the wrong question to ask.
I think
there we go.
I think the thing that surprises me the most about pipe smokers is when they have a pre-existing concept about, hey, I will not smoke this type of tobacco, or I will never smoke that type of pipe, and then they try it, or they find just the right one that actually fits, you know. And it's well, no, I don't smoke flavored tobaccos, or no, I don't smoke anything that has latitude in it. I think that don't cut anything out. Don't cut anything. My one tip from a sitting behind the counter and just seeing how pipe smokers work, is don't cut anything out. There's a place for every little part of the pipe world kind of in there, and I think you'll find that at times maybe a little dash of Latakia here, or maybe a very light topping over here can make the experience very, very pleasant, and you might enjoy it more than you think you would. So that might be why our shop does so many of these crossover blends, because we we just don't really. But yeah, I would say that's a big thing. I wish non-aromatic smokers would give aromatics a chance more often, and I wish the reverse was true as well.
That's awesome advice. Well, fellas, I'm not chasing everybody out because we still have about 10 minutes, but we're at that stage now where I remind people that we still have spouses and families and whatnot who are probably wondering where the heck we are. And I don't want to, Peter's like, nah, I don't care. Yeah, I sent them to the store. So now's the time to chat about general things, as well as I was talking to Jon David. Jon David, I like, this has been awesome. I think we've gotten more engagement from the YouTube watchers than we have in the past weeks. They all, like several times, people said, this is an amazing conversation. Really learned a lot. So we really appreciate you for sharing all that with us. Anybody else have some questions? And then I'm gonna give us a heads up on what's coming up in the next couple of weeks, and then we're out of here. Jon David, looks like you're frozen.
Real quickly from my perspective, I just
Yeah, I think we lost him. Oh, there he is. Okay, there you are. Jon David, we lost your stream there for a second. Well, we have a very nice still image of Jon David to go out on. But maybe that's the sign from the universe that it's time for us to finish up today. So Jon David, if you can hear us, I want to say once again, thank you so much for being our guest today. I would, if anybody disagrees with me on this, you can hit me up afterwards. But Jon David, we'd love to have you come back again and be our guest again on another day. And
absolutely.
Obviously,
yeah.
Completely agree.
Yeah, or just hang out with us and smoke pipe with us anytime.
Yeah, right. I tell this to all the guests. It's like, so you've been a guest here, but you can come anytime. We'd love to have you just come and hang out. We'd be honored. You know, you got 20 minutes on a Saturday when you're not doing, you want to come and hang out with the cool kids. Here we are.
Yeah,
right?
Man, that's great. I'm honored. Thank you so much. Again for having me. And it is fun. I'll be honest.
Can I give a shameless comment here?
I'm kind of introverted, so this is a little difficult for me. But I really appreciate y'all. Y'all were a kind audience.
Jon David, I would like to personally thank you. You've done more for me in pipe smoking than I can ever say, and I've loved listening to you and Bo. And I really have a hard time with your introvertedness, because you've been none of that ever to me, and I just really appreciate the grace that you've offered to all of the people that have come in contact with you that I've seen, your interactions, and I just want to say thank you.
Thank you, brother. That's very kind, man. It's very kind.
Well, gentlemen, first of all, I want to thank Oliver again. Oliver's been doing, this has been some crazy weeks for me at work, and he's been on the group page helping to do some moderating and put some posts up there, bunch of posts, and then David also putting up some posts about tobacco availability. When the Sun Bear came up again, And you guys are just really amazing. Thank you for all that help. And it's a community. Like it takes it out of, oh, this is DDR's little hobby here, into it's ours collectively, and everybody's pitching in. So that's really, really super. Next week, we have Russ Ouellette coming to come and chat with us and share some history and his wisdom as well. We're working on Chris Morgan's going to be here in a few weeks. I don't have the paper in front of me to remind me about what day that is. Coming up in September. And then Brian Levine's coming back at the end of the month of September to talk about Disney and the Disney pipe collection that he's got. So that's all the stuff that we're working on currently. As I say every week, this is just the best part of my week, and I'm really honored to be able to hang out with you guys. Thank you so much for being awesome. Just totally awesome. Stay safe this next week. Don't do anything crazy. We got all the time in the world to be crazy after. How about that? So
Sounds good.
See you guys next week. Take care.
Thanks so much for having me.
you.
Y'all have a good week. All right. Bye-bye.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, John.